Erik, welcome. Um, I think sort of quickly jump in. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? I know you're of Russian origin, but you grew up in South Africa, and you actually speak a bit of Afrikaans pretty solidly as well.
Hmm. As you know, came here when I was 10, um,
And that's from
from the far east of Russia, a place called Vladivostok.
yes, right in the coast. On the
Yes.
coast.
And then sort of finished schooling here, traveled the world quite a bit, doing odds and ends here and there. Specialized in gemstone trading out of Africa to Asia. And sort of came back in the last 3, 4 years and decided to stay and trying to figure out what to do next.
Well, that's part of the fun, right?
Mm.
Yeah, and I think we've spoken about this a couple of times. You're actually speaking about this just earlier, uh, the coming back to South Africa thing. Um, I sp- I spent close to a decade in mostly Taiwan, a little bit of the rest of Asia, and I d- uh, I don't think I came back to South Africa. I came back to Cape Town specifically, but I really missed it. And there's something about Cape Town, the whole of South Africa, that makes it feel like real life. But I specifically love Cape Town for it. What other places in the world do you reckon are comparable?
I don't know. So we got obviously you and I both have got mates that live overseas. All South African lads do. You got mates that move to Europe, to Oz, to America to try and find a better life. The grass is greener on the other side situation. And then I think everyone realizes towards the end that the grass is greenest, yeah. From many aspects. I lived in Asia like you did. I did Thailand for 2 years, back and forth, because that's where my gemstone business was held.
Is that
Um,
through because of Burma, Myanmar?
no, we were trading stones out of Namibia and Mozambique into Thailand because at the time in Bangkok was the biggest gemstone festivals that they had 3 times a year, shows. And it was the hub for center point for a very long time. As the market shifted now, I was there last 2 years ago just to see how it's doing and sort of the bustling mecca when I studied there and worked there, it dwindled to about 30% of what it is now. So imagine center building where we worked in the center of Silom was a 48-story building full of gemstones and trade and business in and out every day. It's a fraction of what it used to be.
Did gemstone trading move out of Thailand into China or elsewhere? Or
China took a major part of it. They've pretty much dominated the field now in terms of source acquirement, right? So, for example, like in most of Africa, they go in and with the capital backing that they have, they can purchase out mines, they can purchase out raw material contracts, and gemstones being one of them, they've just taken over and went across there. Plus, their production for jewelry manufacturing and the quality of it has become so good that you can't really compete with them. They mass manufacture as they do with most other things. And instead of obviously supplying stones like they would before through a third party, they just go straight to the source and become the source themselves.
what kind of appetite? Sorry, I don't know much about
Mm.
gemstones. Tried dabbling a little bit for a moment there, but what kind of appetite does China or the local Chinese market have for? Because I know they're big on jade.
hmm So anything sort of color coordinated as well. So the Indian market's the same. They have colors that sort of go with them, like yellow sapphires for a certain time of the year, certain personality type, certain kind of thing. And with the Chinese market, it's green gemstones, like you said, jade, nephrite, and jadeite jade. And then the stones we supply out of Africa would be your tourmalines, your garnets that are green in color, that are very popular. Yeah, that's what we sort of encountered from the stones that we dealt with.
Okay. Yeah, I find the whole stone game interesting because um, I've looked at stones before, and I was sitting with someone who really understood them, and he'd ask me like, "Okay, rate these in order of quality," and I put them in a certain order, and then he'd laugh at me and show me why, like the fine art of being able to look at a stone when someone really understands them, and they immediately see the flaw or see the varietal that it is or whatever. Anyway, um, In terms of uh, to talking about other places to live, you said like you spend a lot of time in Thailand,
Mhm.
and the sense is,
Well, I went there as a younger man, straight out of school, did my first year of varsity at UCT, and then decided that I didn't want to follow in that sort of narrative of staying in varsity for 3, 4 years, doing the same degree as most of my other mates were doing. Didn't want to do it. So I booked a plane ticket, went, and did something that my family member of the time was doing, which was gemstones and sort of being in that trade. And it just sort of transpired that through that, I learned I fully qualified as a gemologist and I became a cutter as well in Africa, um, just to see what that was like. But going back to what it was living like, so going there as a younger man, obviously somewhere like Bangkok is fun, exciting. It's new language to learn, new places to go visit. Um, it was great as far as I recall. And obviously, memory is a very fallible thing, isn't it? And then going back there now, 2 years ago and 3 years before that, my sort of love for the place, maybe not even love for the place, love for traveling alone, as I used to have enjoyment when I was younger, it's dwindling. So I miss the food, I miss the culture, but a month of being there without people that matter to you nowadays is a whole different experience. So
oh, that's an interesting thing, right?
yeah.
Like, I know for myself, in '98, I traveled in Europe by myself, and it was magical because I get to a place and go book into a backpackers, go sit on the street somewhere, have people throwing money at me like I'm a beggar or something because I'm just sitting there in the street, just watching the people. You could do that all the time. It was amazing because wherever you walk in, whoever you meet is like, oh, this might be my best friend for tonight. Um, Great, and just go with that. And I've also gotten to a place where I don't really feel like traveling actually at all. But if, especially not by myself, it's like because you gain all of these experience and you've got no one to share the memory with.
Hmm.
So like, oh, you remember that? Oh no, you weren't there. I was by myself. That's right. Like, oh, and that. Oh no, okay.
And that's become a magical thing as well. A very, how would you say it, important thing to me. We live in a world where there's no more sort of authentic memories you can share with someone because most people put them up on social media for you to see. So you see your mate after 5 weeks of not seeing him, you have to ask him how his trip went because he would have told you through his daily posts how it went. There's no more you retelling your own experience of the events and making it your own magical, right? It's sort of there, they take a little highlight reel of how it was, which really wasn't like that. And you don't even feel the need to ask anymore. If they start telling you, you go, no, it's cool. I saw it already. Don't worry. Don't even bother. So sharing it with someone, especially someone you care for and someone cares for you, whether it's your wife or your best mate or whatever it is, that is the actual magic part of it to do it.
And you, think I had a time in my life where I was a little bit more active in terms of posting on social media about just just pictures, whatever's happening or thoughts I had, or I've completely moved away from that over the past maybe 7 years or so. Um, like I mean, if you go look at my social medias, and I can tell you anything about what's happened in my life more recently. Are you actually like you keep things posted at this point? Like you,
I never had. I think I stopped. I remember when I stopped. So I never had an Instagram account. Last thing I ever had was Facebook. And I remember exactly when. So obviously we all got it in high school as it came out and it was a cool thing. And then you started friending the friends you're spending time with anyhow, which is ridiculous. But at the time it seemed like a good idea. Um, novel things often have that effect, especially for a younger mind when following what everyone else is doing, sort of peer pressure, trend, the way we want to call it. You kind of do it, and then as an older man, you realize,
that's silly.
well, exactly what for. Um,
I think it's nice. Facebook for myself, anyway. Um, it's a nice place to keep contact with people that you're not likely to readily encounter again.
mhm.
No, they're not people, especially if you've traveled a bit and so on. You've got these friends from all over, and some of those people aren't people who you necessarily call even once a year. But it's nice to know that you have some kind of contact, right? Uh, I don't know. It's actually just jumped at me. In '98, traveling in Europe, I met this one guy in Milan, and his family took me in for a couple of nights. I ate there. It was amazing. He showed me Milan, and it was all great. And then I lost his details. I had a scrap of paper in my bag with his name and his address and whatever, and so I lost it. Like, how do you get it again? And I tried finding it, and I still haven't succeeded. Or like at firemen's where they've got the mugs, and the sailors used to put messages in like, "Oh, I'm in October, halfway through October, I'm coming back from Sydney on a ship, and then I'll see you here. Here's a some money for a drink or two or whatever." So in that way, social media is cool.
Mm.
Uh, but yeah, the trend for people to try and create their life online and show everyone else, oh, this is my life. But it's my edited life,
Mhm.
right? You don't take, it's like, here's a picture of me standing on the yacht with a glass of champagne, but you didn't also include the picture of you taking a dump because, like you're going to select from it. I think it creates, I think it creates, uh, almost invariable disappointment with life. Like for other people looking in, if everyone sees like, oh, your life looks so great
Mhm.
because you're trying to show that, then it might make them feel bad about themselves, but it actually makes you feel bad about yourself too, because you've created this image of all the wonderful things and how wonderfully your life is going. And in the day to day, the humdrum of normal life, it's not necessarily like that.
No, of course not. So, I mean, there's obviously documented case studies of people having way more depression rates nowadays with social media use, and the fact that their life doesn't live up to expectations to see other people having on social media. That wasn't the reason I stopped. I remember exactly why. It was we were all out and about with mates, and then one of the function came out where you could geotag yourself in a place. So in a bar somewhere in Cape Town or like on Clifton Beach or whatever it was. And there was a lad in our group that insistently kept on doing this where we went. So there was a trail of us moving around Cape Town at any given point in time. And not even from a privacy point of view, but that is kind of part of it is that if I'm doing something, I don't necessarily want people that I don't want to know what I'm doing. And it would get me in trouble with a girlfriend at the time or something along those lines. I just remember, what is the point of this? It's already out of my control. Someone's got control over what happens to me and what I do on this silly little platform that brings
Yeah.
no joy to my life whatsoever. So from there, I cancelled, which was also a procedure of cancelling your account. And this was, what, 12 years ago or so. It took a good 2, 3 weeks because they triple check, quadruple check to make sure that you really want to
You
close.
sure
Yeah,
should.
yeah, yeah. And that was still back then. I wouldn't even know what it's like now. Yeah, but that was just my sort of understanding of it. And honestly, it's if anything I see with people that overuse it, it's not good for their mental state. Anyone I encounter is it's it's really not good for them.
Yeah. We've spoken previously about story or the narrative structure in your head
Mm,
in terms of philosophy, in terms of seeking in life, trying to find meaning, trying to whittle meaning out of the noise of the world. And I think it's always been difficult. And that's why you've had mystics, and that's why you've had all of the like evolution of all of these different people trying to find ways of mastering consciousness in some way, because it's always been difficult. I wonder what amount of difficulty we've added by social media, by using social media. And have we really? Have we just taken some forms of existing difficulty and actually just move them over to another platform. Life's always been difficult, right? That's what I mean. We can have their objective measures. You can say, oh, people are having fewer kids, but has social media got anything to do with that?
I'm sure there are case studies about that as well. From what I see from my point of view is that you're right, is have we added more difficulty to it? We have, because you're adding an illusionary aspect to an already illusionary existence. So, how would I say it? You're
Adding convulsion to the convolution, right?
sure. Let's go with that. People already wear masks day to day to hide or show their ego self and what they want or what they think they want. And now you've given them a platform where they can do it easier with more variable filters that they themselves don't even know which ones to choose out of. They just keep on adding them. I see it in young women nowadays, especially. It's hilarious to watch girls, besides the fact that they're physically altering their faces nowadays with Botox and fillers and shit like that. Girls are like 26, 25 years old. They're taking a selfie or photo and then they sit for 25 minutes editing wrinkles out of the face they've already stuck in with Botox. And I look at this and I go, What is going on here? You have to be so unhappy with what you see in the mirror to, first of all, to adjust it at such a young age, or have a need to think that you need to do it, and then you then go further refine it in the digital space to present something that doesn't exist at all.
Yeah. I mean, again, back to this whole sort of the narratives, stories on top of stories, and stories on top of stories on top of stories. I mean, think of the human being as, let's say, sort of a state of enlightenment where there are no stories, or you can step outside of all the story for a moment, and you can actually appreciate reality for what it is. You can actually can really feel and smell and appreciate how freaking amazing it all is. And you go, okay, but we're not going to be in that state all the time. We have the superpower of storing. And you use that storing for all kinds of means. And we're essentially manipulating each other through building mutual stories, all communications. I'm trying to get you to think something or do something or whatever. Because, in a tribe, in a group, like, we're always busy with this negotiation. But that means that we're building these narrative structures. Superpower that it is, it also means that you start to mistake that story for reality, right?
Mhm.
Um, and this is just one more level. So if you ask most people what is reality, they're going to start to tell you a story. They're going to start to tell you about their understanding of what reality is in terms of the narrative in their head.
Which is not even their story.
It's a made up thing, right? It's this thing in your head. Isn't social media pretty much just the same? It's just more obvious. Maybe it's a gateway for people to actually be able to see through things more easily.
For those that can, sure, but for those that get lost, and they get lost, it's like fucking quicksand. It's trapped many. So going back to what your understanding is, let's say tribe mentality, right? From what I understand, language developed from gossip amongst the female population of the tribe.
I knew it.
Yeah. If it was just men, we develop, let's say, communication in general, or humans, let's say, in communication, not only humans, but as a species, we develop some form of it. Um, but if we're just up to men, we would still be talking in like lateral sounds because there's not really much we need to say to one another. We have a understanding in most things when it comes to, let's say, hunting or gathering or whatever it is. You can have a conversation with someone, or, for example, you and I have this every now and again. We can have a quiet beer and sit in comfortable silence. And it's absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. So gossiping in the tribe developed communication and the need for more complex language. We wouldn't have that without it.
The additional nuance
Yes,
needed
yes.
to be able to say, well, I'm not saying she's bad. I'm just saying that.
Certainly his fourth wife, yeah. Yeah. And obviously that goes further and further. And now it is, I read it somewhere, I have to double check exactly where, but that's where the concept comes from. It is through that that language developed into the robust and beautiful thing that it is today, that we can now utilize and have a conversation about it. Matter trying to understand matter, as always. We'll get back to that at some point. I don't know. And then now we developed a solution that sort of in your lifetime and my lifetime, you could see it progress. I remember the first time I had access to something similar, right, that was interactive. For a TV is not interactive. Well, unless it's like a old school quiz on the TV, which your family shouts at the screen, you just show movies, that kind of thing. But the first interactive thing would have been, let's say, in my case, would have been a pager. So in Russia, there was no cell phones at the time when I was growing up as a kid. So like you grew up here as well with payphones. Um, we have more freedom in Russia as kids. We can roam the city. There's no, it's
Is
absolute.
that still true though?
It's still true
It's
to
still
this
true.
day. I went to go see my family back there. Now my nieces and nephews, between the ages of let's say 8 and 16, free to come and go as they please. They've got a curfew, obviously, at a certain time, but they walk the streets themselves. They take public transport by themselves to wherever they have to go. No problems. No problems. People don't fear for that kind of thing at all. And as a kid, I had the same freedom. Now, I remember my father gave me a pager, and the thing was obviously it would ring, give me a number that I would have to call, and notify me that father's looking for you. Go call on a payphone, say where you are, everything's okay. That was my first interaction with something that gave me a prompt, and I had to respond to say prompt. Then it was computers. So I was lucky enough that we're able to salvage some parts and build a Pentium 2 or Pentium 3. I can't recall what it was, but it was just a outer shell with some things plugged in, CPU board, motherboard, hard drive, and interact with games of our youth like StarCraft and Age of Empires, Red Alert, that kind of thing. And obviously progressed way, way faster than that into what we have today, which is a device that's powerful in your hand, but that is in essence, as every podcast talks about it, is that it's good for you if you use it for good things, and otherwise it's not good for you at all. And we just come to a point where the device plus everything else that's happening is it really isn't that good for the populace as a whole. That's from what I can see.
Yeah, I mean, I consider myself to be fairly aware of what I do, and for instance, like how much I doom scroll or whatever. I still get caught. I still find myself every now and then. It's like I think I just spent an hour looking at. It might be entertaining and it might be insightful or whatever, but that wasn't the plan.
Mm. It's so well designed because, like I said, I know you're self-aware. You know, have plenty of these conversations. Hence, the podcast is just us talking once again. And I'd consider myself to be pretty aware at the time. And I even know when I sit and do it, going through like YouTube shorts, a part of my brain goes, stop,
What the fuck are you doing?
stop,
Come on, Eric. What
stop,
the fuck are you doing?
stop fucking doing it.
Okay, last one.
Yeah,
Last one.
yeah. I have to come to a point now where let's say I will, human nature as well, right? You will, so it's press your opinion upon your partner or someone that's close to you for what they're doing wrong when in essence you're the one doing it wrong. So I'll sometimes, get upset with my girl about sitting on Instagram for too long. I go, come, let's just spend some time together. Meanwhile, the person I'm really upset with is myself because I do the same shit. Just not on Instagram. Mine is YouTube Shorts. This is because I got no social media. So I sit and watch the same nonsense she watches, just on a different platform, right? And I tell myself, but you don't have social media, you're fine. There's nothing wrong with you at all. We'll be sitting watching a new series.
At least it's not whiskey.
Yeah,
It's just white wine.
just one way. um, yeah, so that's a interesting thing because, like I said, even if self-aware, you shouldn't be doing it, and I'm sure everyone gets caught out by it. Even the content creators on YouTube that say that they stay away, dude, you have to proofread your own content, or proof watch it, or whatever you want to call it. You're going to get stuck in the same loop. It's a very, very clever system that they designed. Very, very clever.
Yeah, I mean, you can create little plans for yourself on how to step around it. For instance, um, find a plank position or some equivalent really uncomfortable position that actually gives you a bit of a workout, has some positive other effects.
Hmm.
Like, I mean, just standing on one leg, like tree pose, put the other leg in the inside of your leg while you scrolling. So as long as you can stand on that one leg, you can keep scrolling. You can try and make these plans, but in the end, it just slips through. It just the next thing you know, you're busy doing this again. Like what? No, you can imagine at scale across all of society, how much time are we spending just doom scrolling?
A lot. A lot.
What could if we took all of that energy, all of that attention, and we found a way of channeling 20% of it into some super positive way of moving the world forward, like what could we actually do with that?
Well, have we done it before? I mean, think 40 years back before cell phones, we had that time. We weren't doing scrolling. Did we achieve anything right then?
No, no. Of course, we always find ways of keeping ourselves busy.
Mm,
It's kind of difficult to imagine what people. Your context changes so quickly.
mm.
I remember growing up, phone would ring. You have a phone at home. There are no cell phones, and then you'd go running for the phone, like whoever's closest. There might be a couple of siblings. They'd be like shouting, like, "Ah, your turn," or whatever. Someone would run, go pick up the phone, like, "No, no, no, this is the house rat," and then they'd say, "This is my brother's friend." I'm like, ah, scream at him, it's your friend. And then he'd come running and get the phone. And if we're not in the house, then it never happened. Like, so what? If someone tries to call you, you're not there, then you're not there.
And yet somehow people live their lives. Nowadays, it's people get upset when you don't answer for 30 seconds after getting a WhatsApp. And then you think about, dude, and what happened 40 years ago when I would just be out and about for 3 or 4 days
What
in the
happened before
wilderness.
that? Before
Uh,
people had phones,
uh,
before telegrams. It's like,
People
oh,
just live
I'll
normal lives.
send you a letter.
Put it into your little jar at 5 minutes and get it 3 months 3 minutes later. Yeah. Interesting conversation then.
No, it must have been. I often think about the guys. For instance, the Dutch who came, like Van Riebeeck and so on, who came down to the Western Cape, to Cape Town, but also guys who went across to the Americas or people who went to Australia. Can you imagine you get there and you're like, oh, okay, figure out what I'm going to do here, how this works. Then you write a letter and you send it, and it takes 3 months to get back. Then they reply to that, another 3 months, you get that letter. So this guy's had big balls. I think at this point to travel is actually it's so much simpler, because wherever you go, you're like, oh, well, I know I can call my bank and, oh, does my card work in that country? And then they tell you, yes, it does. And then you get there and it still doesn't work. But aside from that, there's so many ways for you to keep contact, and you can quickly call people and on a Viber or WhatsApp or whatever you use, um, and email access everywhere. And it's just everything's so direct and quick.
And mundane at the same time. You and I spoke about this before starting the podcast. It's because you've got access
Just
to
in terms
everything.
of what our experiences in
Yeah,
Europe,
yes.
where it's like, oh, this amazing cobble street cafes. It's
Mm,
actually so boring.
yeah. And just because you can go there and experience, right? Imagine going to Europe for the first time or going to the Americas for the first time, right? You've never seen what the place looks like. It's just been described by other people, by their words. Nowadays, you've scrolled through how many images of the Eiffel Tower that by the time you get there, it's not as glorious as you see because there's litter lying all over the place. The place is actually fucking dirty. And it's a whole bunch of odd fellas standing around doing odd shit. And you look at it and the splendor is completely gone, right? Just as an example. And that's what I
And
think
all
it's
that
done
they
as
have to
well.
do is just tick it off your list.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
okay, did that.
exactly, exactly. So the magic of it is gone nowadays, I think. I think Captain Jack Sparrow said it. It's not that the world has gotten smaller, there's just less in it because we've got access to all of it in the palm of your hand. And that's made it mundane. I'll try and
Is that a Jack Sparrow quote?
I think it was, yeah.
Well, it's quite possible.
Oh. Okay,
Yeah,
yes.
I find it incredibly interesting. Just try to compare it because again, it's very difficult. In my own lifetime, I remember there not being cell phones, and specifically not digital ones. I think some people had car phones, but they were analog cell phone, right? But it was very rare. It was only really rich people or very busy businessmen or whatever. In my lifetime, it's changed. So I should be able to remember what was true before in my own life.
Hmm.
And yet I look at it and it feels a little bit like looking at the world before telegraphs, in that see it, I remember, I understand, but I almost don't really believe it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right,
Memory is fallible, like we covered before.
yeah, I don't trust memory enough to just because the world is so different already.
Mm.
And you try to imagine stepping back in time. Can you take 200, 300 years ago, you suddenly give someone a cell phone? Like, do you think it'd be too quick? They just like melt their brain. They just,
Witchcraft.
oh yeah, they probably burn you at the stake.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you come from Russia. You said in Thailand you spoke a bit of Thai. I know your Afrikaans isn't bad at all,
Hmm.
and obviously English. Any other languages? And
No, just those that you know of. Um, don't get to use Afrikaans very often. I mean, only when having a beer with you and Les, I suppose. Um, no, just that. Just that.
yeah, it's interesting how many people on the planet. There are lots of people who are polyglots who speak several languages, but there are also lots of people who only speak one language, or
Hmm.
like get to two, and it's like, okay, that's enough. Or I've, I think it's language creates another set of rules for thinking, and so I feel like the more languages you speak, the more points of reference you have for the same concept or idea, because you
Hmm.
can put it in these different languages. So it gives you a more rounded understanding of a concept.
And not only language, I suppose culture as well. Right. So, for example, let's say you can come and learn Russian, but not living there, you wouldn't understand the culture at all. So it wouldn't get two and two together. It's like let's say Dutch people can understand Afrikaans, but not many of them know what it's like to live here. Living in Netherlands is completely different to living here. Very, very different lives. And yet you both can understand each other just fine. It's the same concept. So if language is great, but with a cultural aspect attached to it as well, then your points of reference are vast. Then you really can understand quite a bit. And like you as well, living in different places and having that exposure to those cultures and languages, even if it's just for conversation, right? Basic things, getting around the city in a different city or haggling on a price at a market somewhere. That alone exposes you to data points, which then can be used in other sort of equations in your life. Did you find that?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm distracted by a whole bunch of noises. I'm trying to figure out who and where that's coming from.
Behind the black curtain.
Must be that. Then. I think uh, you say every language and every space has a different sort of effect on you. Like it's going to do a different thing to your mind.
Mhm,
I remember the first time I was in Zanzibar
mhm,
in Stone Town. We flew in the night before and woke up in the morning, and it's a Muslim island, right? And growing up in Pretoria, I never really didn't live close to a mosque. Never heard morning prayers. I woke up that morning and like wake up with morning prayers. And you've seen it in movies, but that was the first time I experienced that in real life, and it sort of It shook me a little bit.
Mhm.
The first time in Taiwan where I stood out in the street and lit a cigarette and looked up and down, looked at all the signage and realized, oh, I'm completely illiterate. But I knew this going in, but it wouldn't sink in properly until I was actually there. And I think in the same way, there are all of these things that you grow up assuming that they're universal, or you might for a long time assume that they're universal until you meet someone and realize, oh no, here's a different culture, here's a different way of thinking. Like in Mandarin, you don't move in time, you don't move forward and up, you move backwards and down. I kind of like, oh, here's a completely different way of thinking about
Mhm.
something that you thought, well, that's obviously universal. Obviously, that's always going to be true everywhere. You're like, oh no, it's just a convention. It's just a little convention, a little rule that we made up so that we can all get along. But it's actually, well, it's not necessarily trivial. It can become, but it is just a convention. Um, and I think then maybe this is part of why they say it's good for you to travel. Like you should do at least a little bit of traveling in your life because it starts to challenge your assumptions. And that means that whatever assumptions you have left, you have to go look at them and wonder, are these maybe also just conventions? Like
Mhm.
how much of how much is universal? And how much is sort of deep truth and how much just superficial BS?
I think universal, there are fundamental rules that apply, if you want to believe in those. But the traveling, you're right about that. The more you do, it's taken all the traveling for both you and for me to realize, let's say, that Cape Town works best for me in terms of living situation. Um, and that certain truths are mine and I believe in them because I've experienced them to be universal truths. And then certain things are completely, I had to unlearn because they were learned before I did any sort of exploring of any kind. Um, just, you wouldn't call them, suppose there would be lies, but not necessarily lies, learned
It's
behaviors and
sort of
patterns.
route constructs.
Yeah,
They're just like, this is how it is. Oh, okay.
base nonsense,
They
exactly.
weren't questioned.
Yeah, yeah. And that's where traveling comes in hand. You just realize that what you were taught is not necessarily the correct way. In most cases not the correct way of assuming things at all. Um,
Was at least not comprehensive. It doesn't encapsulate
yeah,
like what actually happens and how people actually work. And
yeah.
yeah, I think it's good for people to travel and learn, and it's certainly a way to open your mind. But there's also, I suppose, different people would feel differently about this. I feel bring it on, shake up my mind, break the reality I understand because I want to know the truth. I want to know what's really going on,
Mhm.
right? But I think for a lot of people, that's actually not true. Like, I actually prefer to whatever whatever their little cocoon is, they prefer to just stick with that and say, okay, this is what I've got, this is where I am, this is how I see the world, and that'll do the job.
That's where the modern isolation comes from, I think, is that, like I said, with the phones right nowadays, you see it now, the cocoon has become smaller because you can scroll through everything you think you'd want to see in your life on your phone, right?
And it'll reinforce the
You
kind of
just,
things that you
exactly, you make it smaller and smaller and smaller. And obviously, with targeting and algorithms, it will give you the information that you're already currently seeking, reinforcing whatever nonsense you want to believe. That's what it does. So there's very little expansion happening. Even those that travel, right? Noticed it with sort of with girlfriends and with family members, and people travel nowadays, like you said, without seeing the place. They don't want to experience the experience anymore. To take a photo, to take it off that it was done.
posted on social media.
Exactly, but not. I saw it. I took my brother. We did a club med to Mauritius, right? Just me and my younger brother. And there was a couple there. So I think if I was 27, brother would have been about 14, 15. Um, so we did fishing, but he was still sort of in the teenage group. So he did some of the activities there in the Club Meds that they do as part of the thing for the whole day. And I hang around on the beach, did some surfing and had beers at the bar, chatted to girls, normal things. And there was a couple there younger than me, also African couple, guy and a girl. It's been about 25, 24, and they were influencers. And I watched them for 7 days with the same package as us, all inclusive. They calorie counted every meal. They did a photo shoot for all the boardies and bikinis and shit that they brought with them that they had to do a photo shoot for. And I think on day 3 or 4, I was just very curious. I go, are you guys at any point in time going to enjoy yourselves or your company? Beautiful guy, beautiful girl. What is happening here? No, no, we have to get this done. So it's not really much of a holiday for us. Sort of defeating the entire purpose of what they're doing it for. All expenses paid trip, but not once did they take time out that I saw for themselves just to actually enjoy it.
Yeah, I suppose it's just business.
So, so they don't get it done at all.
Yeah. I recall a story, ex-girlfriend of mine told me. They they went to the Kruger National Park, and there were some local guys. There was a little VW minibus, and there were two Americans. But this might be out of the 80s or early 90s or so.
Hmm.
And while they're all there, like just appreciating, oh, look at this, that animal, and a little bit of safari, lion and elephant, and this little bird, and whatever else. Uh, this couple are just taking pictures and video recording, but continuously. That's all they do the whole time. They didn't put it down once. And then by the time that they left the park, late in the afternoon, the husband turned to his wife and said, "I can't wait to get home to see what we just saw."
That was good. That was good. Mm.
I think there's a risk for everyone. I mean, social media is certainly one way, but there's a risk for everyone that you're not in the present moment enough to actually just be there. Continuously busy. Oh, I'm busy developing the story, whether it's a story for myself or the story I want other people to believe about me, or whichever way it's constructed. Eventually, the story's going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
It's like once I die, it's going to be a biography that can be published. That's going to be meaningful. So, well, that's not your life. That's just a story about your life, and that story is never going to be perfectly accurate. It's always going to be full of all the various pitfalls, things that you forgot, and things you misunderstood, and things that you didn't even realize happened.
Yeah, because understanding goes, you understand what's the saying as well. Life was lived forwards, but understood backwards, right? So it's as you get older, you're able to look at situations once again with your fallible memory in place, but learn a new lesson from it, or at least to get a different perspective from it. And I think nowadays that perspective is changing, right? Because now if you frame a moment that can be looked back upon, let's say in a filtered video or photo, right? Another funny thing, they're watching videos, they speed them up nowadays as well. So not only are you consuming bullshit content, you're trying to consume more bullshit content by speeding it up, right? And watching it at 1.5 or 2 times faster to consume more of it, but none of it sinks in. So it's a complete waste of time. And I watch this in absolute fucking awe, especially what they consume, what content they consume, and what content they put out that other people then speed up 2 times or 3 times. You're not getting any of it in at all. It's just, I've been finding it really,
Yeah.
really fascinating nowadays.
Like, so I think it's if you're doing an Audible and it's something that you're really interested in,
Mm.
and you've sped it up quite a bit because you're able to listen at a higher speed, but you're essentially sitting there sort of stoically, just like really absorbing it.
Mm.
Okay. But if you're busy listening to that, while you're busy also scrolling through your social media and reading, like, you try and, like you say, there's this the obsession to consume more of this information is so big that you don't even realize you get to a point where now it's just pure noise. You're not you can't be entertained from that.
Mm.
You're not actually getting value from any of it. It's like somehow you're supposed to magically get a naughty badge for, you know,
A little gold star next to your little video.
yeah, look how well I've
Mm.
done. I managed to consume 8 hours worth of content in 5 or whatever. But to what end? Right.
To no end. Nothing's been absorbed at all. And was it good content to absorb in the first place? It's the next question.
Yeah. No, it's insane. I think I'm not sure what one's supposed to do. Like you can just sheer force, willpower, get yourself. I think, for instance, a good idea is to say when you wake up in the morning, don't look at anything. Like wake up, give yourself some time, um, go outside, go look at the sun, try and experience a little bit of the day. Take a bit of time to write something, maybe sit down, do a bit of meditation, something before you start engaging.
Hmm.
I think it's a great idea, but a lot of people find it almost like they'd agree in principle it's a great idea, but it's an addiction, right? It
Hmm.
like drives them back into you wake up in the morning and it's like, while I'm in the toilet, let me quickly check
Hmm.
up and they're in, done. And we already spoke about this, but I mean, you think the amount of attention that's actually being wasted and what other ways we could have spent all of that as a society. I wonder how, like, does it end with a solar storm and technology is wiped and that's the only way we get rid of it?
I think that's the only way we do. It's if people are watching content where people are telling them put the phone down, that's the message in the content. Put the phone down, go live your life, go do something, and you're watching different YouTubers, podcasters, influencers doing the same content over and over again, and you still don't put it down when the message is loud and clear, there's a problem.
Yeah. I think
It's
maybe you can have, 'cause at this point we have LLMs that people can use for various things, but they don't really have like, I mean, you have a Siri, I suppose, but like a proper assistant. And you negotiate with the assistant. So you have some kind of commitment mechanism that says, okay, I did, I spent too much time scrolling social media today. Tomorrow, I want you to cap me at 10 minutes or whatever. And then the phone agrees. And you actually you create a little contract. And it says, like, are you sure? Are you double sure? Because, like, if you really need to see that thing, like someone sends you something, you're going to have to ask a friend to send you screenshots because you're not going to have access to it or whatever. I don't know, like some way for people to negotiate their way out of it. Because,
to negotiate with their phone in their hand. That's just ridiculous, isn't it?
I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but it's where we are.
Mm.
I mean, what do you do? Because you can say, no, you should just put the phone down. Okay, go live without a phone.
Very difficult nowadays,
Exactly.
just from a living point of view. I mean, payments, Ubers, deliveries, you have to have, it's all interconnected. Yeah. Very well designed, like I said. You can't live
No,
without the thing nowadays.
I mean, I think the level of novelty is just too much for, um, we evolved and you keep on having new things and so on. And suddenly we're at this place where things are changing so quickly. And you have it's like a nuclear bomb, right? A smartphone is just so powerful. It and as you've said already, it's got all of these incredible things that you could use it for, but it's also so immensely destructive. And we don't really have defenses for it.
No, it's all consuming. You see people, smartphone is smartphone, right? The epitome of, let's call it modern day handcuffs. It just binds you. And then you're attaching more devices to it, like your iWatch and the this and the that. I watch people sometimes phone goes off with a notification, watch goes off, laptop goes off at the same time, bring in the earphones and their head the thing, and you go, what do you need all of this for? To tell you that your Uber Eats is on the way. And they become more and more accustomed to it because the idea is sold as it's gonna better your life. I have yet to see anything smart better my life in any way.
What does better your life, Eric?
It depends on what you want, I suppose. You and I have spoken about this is that I want more understanding. I want to know. But the thing that's in my hand, because knowledge is so, it's become fallible, right? It used to be you go to a library, take out a book, read through, write out notes, a photocopy, 40 pages, pay a price for it, and then you absorb the knowledge because you've done the work to absorb the knowledge, right? Now, there is a counter argument to everything. You can type in whatever query you want. There will be argument for, counter argument against, and there's no way to determine which is good and which is bad. There will be studies for good and bad at the same time. Some things at university, you shouldn't do, but most things you can't gather proper data because it's always changing. And because there's so much of it more now, right? You think that it's that same understanding of because there's so much expansion of data happening per second, and my rate of ability to consume it, right? Good data, knowledgeable things. I can't read enough or understand enough compared to how much is being created. It's just not possible.
Yeah, it's just running away from me.
It's not possible.
But I mean, in the old days, you went to the library, you got the book, you studied it, you made the notes, and then you thought, okay, I know.
500 years ago,
But you may have been completely wrong.
you would have read one book and you would have been a learned man. You would have been considered smarter than the rest.
Because you could read the
Yeah,
book then.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah. No, because I understand that we are, on the one hand, it's creating value that you have access, or let's say it's creating a bit of uh, a conflict in terms of the veracity of information. Like in the old days, you take a book and you say, okay, this is the book. I know the thing. Yay, I
Mhm.
can move on to the next thing. Now suddenly you have conflicting information. The the downside is that, okay, now you have like making the decision is difficult, and that comes at a cost and a pain. And the upside is that you have an opportunity to better realize that you don't know.
Mhm.
And so maybe get you back to Socrates and the like knowing that you
It's
don't
like your
know.
point about traveling, right? Your traveling inspired you to look besides what you got taught, right? Same with different points of data. But nowadays, like I said, it's because there's so much bullshit out there, right? Whatever is, I don't trust what's written on the internet because it's it's like photos with filters on them. That girl doesn't look like that in real life. It's not how it is. It's I don't trust what I read there as well. Then you go to start reading books, but the people writing the books modern days are the people who read the same shit that you read. The classics are still the classics. Dostoevsky is always going to be Dostoevsky, but modern day nonsense, very few exceptions to it. The human mind can only it's like watching, for example, series and movies, right? Did you find that everything has become so monotonous is you can almost predict the dialogue? That's why you stop watching Netflix and Prime and whatnot. It's because the human mind can only create so many new examples of the same thing. Rewrite the same characters
Mm.
into different plot lines. You sit and watch the same movie. It's shit you watched and watched again. Like fashion goes in cycles. We spoke about this as well. They can't make anymore. Music is the same. Music used to be great when you were younger, and now it's repeat of what it was before with a different lyric or different frame.
Hmm. I'm not sure I agree with you. I think the human is able, like human beings are able to do a lot more than we necessarily do.
Mhm,
And every now and then someone comes along and shakes everything up, and then we all realize, oh, we were actually stuck.
mhm.
We were stuck in a stupid rut. So I do believe that we can get stuck in a rut. Um, I think in terms of television and so on, there are lots of shows that are just exactly what you're saying, terrible and predictable, and no, it's
Feed
it's
the
not edgy
masses.
enough. It's not really trying
No,
Or it's
it's more
just
like it's
printing
designed.
by numbers and
They know exactly who you're designing it for the consumption of those that are stuck in it. Like the big thing with the reality shows nowadays, with like the ones with the love stories and whatnot, right?
oh, I
It
can't.
is it is painful.
I seriously
I
can't.
tried like one episode, and it's painful. You can't
Yeah.
watch it.
But I mean, to go to music, for instance, I think there's always been music that wasn't great. It just didn't get to survive, so you don't have to listen to it anymore. Um, and there always be music that's inspiring and amazing, and
Mhm,
uh, you also, specifically with music, I think that you kind of locked into your age time framework.
mhm,
Like, and there's actually a study about this, but I think it's a specific um, age in your life, like 15 to 20 or 14 to 21, whatever, something around there. And whatever is cool then, that's your music.
mhm,
And that's always going to be your music. And as music and the styles and the fashion change from there, you're going to dislike it more and more and more. And that's where you get the stereotype of the old grumpy guys like, kids' music these days, they don't know
mhm,
anything about music. Whatever.
mhm.
Like, yeah, in the Bible, is it? I forget the name of the book. But anyway, there's in the Old Testament, something that says like, old men will sit on their like old men will always complain that the children today don't respect elders the way that they
Yes,
used
yes,
to. And
yes.
you're like, oh, thousands of years, it always feels the same. So you're like, isn't the music they make nowadays just isn't music anymore?
Mm.
It's like, yeah, well,
Cycle of life, I suppose.
yeah. And I wonder, you're saying about like TV shows and films and so on, it's all been done.
Mhm,
How how much of that is just because you've consumed so much in your life that you're actually saturated? It's actually like, well, fiction's actually kind of done for the most part. It's
mhm.
done its thing. So you might get lucky once in a blue moon and get something as decent, but is it even worth the time, wait, like spending that much time looking through so much crap in the hope that you're going to find something new? Maybe just live your life and go out and go do something in the real world.
Yes, yes. So getting stuck on screens is a bad idea. It's become more and more accessible as well.
Yeah, I mean, how many screens do you need, right?
Mm.
Well,
We get stuck with that. You sit down with your significant other and decide what to watch. You spend more time scrolling, deciding on what to
trying
watch.
to figure out what to
Exactly.
watch. I remember
Hour
the
and a
old
half
days.
goes by, popcorn's all gone already, the glass of wine is done already.
Okay,
You haven't
well,
chosen anything.
great. So we had a romantic movie night. We
Mm,
found a movie that we'll watch next time.
exactly. Yeah.
Well, earmark it. Okay. Eric, so thank you very much for coming on the show.
Sure,
I
man.
really appreciate it. It was a fun chat, and I hope we get to do so again soon.
Likewise.
Cool. Cheers.
Cheers.